The sun over the salt flats did not shine, it hammered. It beat down on a cracked, endless plain of bleached stone and shimmering air, a place where hope went to desiccate and die. And yet, in the very heart of this wasteland, in a canyon so narrow it was mere rumor, the most beautiful sound in the world was being born. It was not a melody, but a symphony of precise, resonant taps. Tink-tink-tap, tink-a-tink-tap. The source was an old man, his skin like worn saddle leather, his hands broad and scarred. His name was Kaelen, and he was an exile. Before him, clamped to a rough-hewn bench, was not a precious gem or a vein of ore, but a simple, gray river rock. In his hand was a hammer that seemed carved from moonlight, its head a smooth, opalescent stone. With each measured tap, the river rock changed. Its gray surface shivered, revealing a fractal lace of azure and silver beneath, as if he were persuading it to remember being a star. Kaelen was a tool shaper, the last of an ancient guild. But where his peers had worked with metal, wood, and crystal, Kaelen's heresy was his medium, common stone. He didn't carve it. He didn't polish it. He convinced it. With his sacred hammer, Heartstroke, he could speak to the memory within rock, the echo of its billion-year journey, and persuade it to become something else. A stone could remember being part of a great tree and become wood of impossible strength. It could recall the pressure of deep earth and become a blade that never dulled. It could dream of being a lens and focus light into a cutting beam. His crime was not his skill, but its implication. In the wealthy tiered city of Exiled, the Guild of Artificers ruled. They sold tools of gleaming steel and enchanted brass at prices that kept kings in debt and peasants in perpetual service. Kaelen, a young master then, had made a ploughshare from a fieldstone for a starving farmer. It cut the earth like butter and never broke. Then he made a nail for a roofer that fused slate together. Then a needle for a seamstress that could sew through leather as if it were silk. He was summoned before the Guild High Council. "You destabilize the very order of things," thundered the Grand Artificer, his robes glittering with metallic thread. "Why should a man buy a new axe every year if a rock can become one that lasts a lifetime? Why should he be in our debt? You turn scarcity into abundance, and abundance breeds ingratitude. You are exiled. Your tools are forbidden. Your name is struck from the records." They cast him out, believing the salt flats would be his tomb. They did not understand that to a man who could hear the song in stone, a desert was a library. The flats were not empty. They were a chronicle of ancient oceans, fiery eruptions, and slow, patient sedimentation. Here, Kaelen found his forge and his freedom. 20 years passed. In the wider world, the guild's grip tightened. Tools broke faster. Debts mounted. Innovation stifled. Exiled grew glittering and rotten. And in the deepest wilds, a whisper began, a legend of a ghost in the salt flats who could turn rubble into riches. This whisper reached the ears of two very different souls on the same desperate day. The first was Lyra, a young woman with eyes the color of storm clouds and fingers stained with soot and ink. She was an inventor's daughter, her father imprisoned by the guild for the crime of designing a self-filling water wheel. She'd heard the legend as a child's tale, but now with the guild's enforcers at her door, it was her only hope. She stole into the night with her father's prized possession, a broken, incomplete astrolabe he called a star compass. The second was Torin, a guild hunter, not a brutish thug, but a man of sharp intellect and colder conviction. He believed in order as a supreme good. The exile was a chaos vector, a myth that, if real, needed erasure for the stability of civilization. He was given the finest gear, a clockwork tracking orb, a gas-propelled grapnel, and a mandate to end the fairy tale. Both found the canyon, drawn by the tink-tink tap that pulsed like a heartbeat through the stone. Lyra arrived first, parched and near collapse. She saw Kaelen not as a wizard, but as a weary old man tapping a rock that was now shimmering with inner light. "Please," she croaked, holding out the broken astrolabe. "They say you can make anything. Can you fix this? It's the only key to my father's freedom." Kaelen looked at her, then at the complex instrument. He saw not the device, but the love and hope fused into its metal. "I do not work with metal," he said, his voice the rustle of dry leaves, "but I can give you what it needs to function." He picked up a handful of coarse sand. With a series of swift, whispering taps from Heartstroke, he persuaded the sand to remember being transparent, to recall the properties of perfect glass. It flowed like liquid in his palm, forming into a series of flawless, magnifying lenses. He fit them into the astrolabe. It whirred to life, its dials aligning with stars invisible in the daytime sky. "It will guide you true," Kaelen said. "Remember, a tool's purpose is given by the hand that holds it, not the material from which it's born." Before Lyra could pour out her thanks, Torin descended, not with a shout, but with a silent, efficient grace. His crossbow was leveled, not at Kaelen, but at Lyra. "Step away from the heretic, Lyra. His corruptions end today." Kaelen sighed, a sound of deep earth shifting. "The only corruption I see is the fear in your eyes, Hunter. Fear of a world where power isn't hoarded. I fear chaos. I fear the unraveling of society." He fired, but Kaelen's tap of Heartstroke on the ground at his feet was faster. The stone of the canyon floor remembered being sticky, viscous sap. It flowed up, capturing the bolt in mid-air, hardening around it like amber. Torin stared, his certainty cracking. "What magic is this?" "No magic," Kaelen said, bending to pick up a jagged, ugly piece of flint. "Memory. Everything is, and was, and remembers." He tapped the flint. It shivered, unfolding like a dark metal flower into a perfect, razor-edged throwing disc. "Your tools, Hunter, are made to break, to enforce dependence. Mine are made to empower, which is truly chaotic." Enraged, Torin unleashed his technological arsenal. A net of weighted cable shot from his wrist. Kaelen tapped a wall. It remembered being sleek with algae, and the net slid off. Torin fired his grapnel to pull down Kaelen's shelving, laden with stone-made wonders. Lyra, thinking fast, used the newly fixed astrolabe. A beam of focused sunlight, intensified through one of Kaelen's lenses, lanced out, slicing the grapnel's rope. In the lull, Kaelen looked at Torin not with hatred, but with pity. "You are a craftsman too, are you not, in your own way? You trust your gear, but does it trust you? Does it know you?" He threw the flint disc. It didn't aim at Torin, but at his clockwork tracking orb. The disc struck true, and instead of smashing it, the stone seemed to merge with the mechanism. Gears browned to a halt. The orb hummed, then let out a pure, clear chime, a sound of perfect, neutral balance, before going dark. It was no longer a tool of pursuit, but a paperweight of profound peace. Torin fell to his knees, not in defeat, but in revelation. His entire worldview was built on the premise that the exile's power was a dangerous fantasy. But here it was, more profound and more humbling than any fantasy. It didn't break the laws of nature. It listened to them. His own tools, the pinnacle of guild artifice, seemed clumsy and screamingly loud next to this quiet dialogue with existence. "Why?" Torin whispered, looking at his useless, beautiful gear. "Why show me this? I came to destroy you." Kaelen placed Heartstroke on the bench. "Because a man who seeks only to destroy is a man who has forgotten how to listen. You are not a hunter. You are a man who has lost his true material. You work with cold brass, but your spirit craves the song of something older." He picked up a lump of rough clay from a riverbed. "This," he said, tapping it gently, "remembers the imprint of every hand that shaped it, every pot that held nourishment, every brick that built a shelter. It remembers usefulness." The clay reshaped itself under the taps, not into a weapon, but into a simple, perfect cup.